We don't know for sure what will happen with the seasonal crafted weapon patterns once Lightfall drops. While Bungie has said they are no longer vaulting annual expansion content, the current seasonal content is going away when Lightfall drops. Because of this, it may become much harder to unlock the crafting patterns for many of the seasonal craftable weapons. The vendors that sell them and the activities that drop them will be gone. So with that in mind, I wanted to go over 4 seasonal crafted weapons that you may want to get your hands on now while they're still accessible. I certainly hope Bungie has a plan for keeping these weapons available, but it's better to be on the safe side, and while you're grinding and prepping for Lightfall, you may want to pick these weapons up. My name is Gray. If you enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription is greatly appreciated. Now let's get into it. Number 1 on the list will be the Calus mini tool. This has become one of my go-to weapons for any solar build. And while we now have dozens of weapons that can roll with the incandescent perk, the Calus mini tool is the only SMG in the game that has it. It's also one of very few weapons that can access enhanced incandescent due to it being craftable. This weapon is tied to Season of the Haunted and can be earned from unlocking opulent chests on the Leviathan or by focusing for it at the Crown of Sorrow vendor in the Helm. In the first perk column, it has multiple options ranging from Threat Detector to Grave Robber and even Unrelenting. In the second column, I highly recommend going with Incandescent, as the Scorch effect does synergize with Solar 3.0 subclasses. Whatever you decide to go with, this weapon has become a staple across all of my characters, and it's one of my highest level crafted weapons to date just due to how much I actually use it. You definitely want to pick this one up before it goes away, as it may become much harder to get once Lightfall comes out. Number 2 is going to be the Bump in the Night rocket launcher. You may have seen plenty of videos going around regarding this particular rocket, and that's because it has the potential of being a very strong option in Lightfall, especially once linear fusion rifles get tuned down a bit. A lot of you may already have plenty of God Roll rocket launchers. This one is unique, being that it is a stasis weapon that can synergize easily with things like Font of Might for added damage, and it's also a member of one of the highest damaging rocket archetypes by being an aggressive frame. In the second perk column, you can go with the perk Chill Clip. This has very unique potential in that it can add shatter damage on top of what you're already doing. However, if you run more than one Chill Clip rocket on your fire team, you may start to see some diminishing returns on damage. Because of this, I recommend going with either Frenzy for a 15% damage increase after being in combat for a short time, or simply going with Vorpal Weapon for a flat 10% damage increase. In the third column, you can take Auto-Loading Holster or Field Prep, or even Demolitionist if you're playing on a Well Warlock. If you don't have a good rocket launcher laying around or simply need a good stasis option, I highly recommend picking this up. You can get it from Nightmare Containments or Sever missions on the Derelict Leviathan, or by focusing at the Crown of Sorrow vendor in the Helm. Next on the list is the Ikelos SMG. This weapon has been one of my favorite primary weapons throughout all of its history in Destiny 2, and now that it's been reissued as a craftable weapon, it's better than ever. The OG God Roll of Threat Detector and Surrounded is still available, and it's a great perk combination, but we also have some new options as well. In the first column, we are spoiled for choice, but I recommend Feeding Frenzy. It's a great reload perk and pairs perfectly with Volt Shot, which is now available on this weapon in the second column. This makes it a great primary weapon for ad clear, but of course you still have the option of taking perks like Surrounded, which recently got buffed, or Frenzy, which is always a solid option. This weapon pairs great with any Arc 3.0 build, and it is currently available via focusing at the Exoframe vendor in the Helm, by completing Warmind nodes all over the game, or by completing the Seasonal Heist Battleground activity. It's a fantastic primary weapon to have, so definitely scoop this one up before Lightfall. Number 4 will be the Disparity Pulse Rifle. This weapon is extremely strong for a primary weapon in its own right, but if you are planning on taking on the Day 1 raid in Lightfall, or even the Legendary campaign on launch, I very much recommend this weapon. Pulse rifles perform extremely well in underleveled content. The ability to peek out from cover and fire bursts while chipping away at an overpowered enemy is very valuable. I almost always run a pulse rifle when doing Day 1 raids, and Disparity is part of a very unique archetype of pulse rifle, with it being an aggressive 4-round burst. This makes it particularly strong for its ability to flinch or stun enemies easier than most weapons. Landing the full burst as precision hits will allow you to stagger enemies very easily and give you much needed breathing room in that high tier content. There are lots of great options in the first perk column, though I recommend Rapid Hit. With this weapon being a 4-round burst, you can immediately build to 4 stacks of Rapid Hit by just firing the weapon once. This significantly improves our reload speed and adds stability, which only makes the weapon feel better. In the second column, we do have options like Headstone or One for All, which are both great, but I recommend Frenzy, especially for that day 1 raid. This will max out our reload stat for lightning fast reloads and give us a 15% damage buff while we remain in combat. It's a rock solid primary weapon, and it has the benefit of synergizing with stasis builds as well for things like Font of Might. This is available from the Exoframe vendor in the Helm, as well as the Heist Battlegrounds. Our last weapon is a bit of a wild card. Glaives has certainly been a unique weapon to use since Witch Queen launched, but this one in particular has a very unique perk that is currently only found on this weapon that turns it into an absolute beast. That perk is known as Close to Melee. This increases the melee damage of the glaive after landing a projectile final blow. Continued melee or projectile hits extend the buff timer, allowing you to keep it up for as long as you continue to deal damage. Now that glaives can work with exotic armor like Syntheseps or Winter's Guile, you can make some absolutely crazy builds with this particular glaive. Seeing as it is a seasonal weapon and we're not sure where it will land come Lightfall, that's why I'm recommending that you pick it up, especially if you enjoy using glaives. It does also get Demolitionist in the first column for added grenade regen and instant reloads. Of all the glaives in the game, I find this one to be the most interesting and definitely worth snagging if you have the materials or time between now and Lightfall. Again, this is found from the Exoframe vendor or from Heist Battlegrounds. A quick little bonus weapon to throw in here that I realized I left out. The Retrofit Escapade LMG is absolutely insane right now due to its interactions with volatile rounds, especially when paired with Gerfalcons on Void Hunter. It's a super fun weapon to use right now, but I'm guessing this will get patched or changed come Lightfall. Either way, keep an eye out for 4 times the charm and target lock on this thing and have fun breaking the game with volatile rounds. This is also found at the Exoframe vendor and Heist Battlegrounds. Even if you don't end up crafting every single one of these weapons, keep an eye out for the roles we talked about today when you see these weapons drop. They're all very unique and powerful, but may be much harder to get your hands on once this seasonal content is gone. Again, I really hope Bungie has a plan for these seasonal crafting patterns, but they may just end up getting thrown into the Dares of Eternity loot pool, and then you'll really be suffering to get all 5 patterns. Maybe have the gunsmith sell weekly patterns now that he doesn't need to sell mods anymore? It's just a thought. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, a like and sub is greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.